Hello BookTube. Today I'm going to be doing my Space Opera September TBR. Space Opera September is a BookTube reading event hosted by Thomas of SFF 180. He is a book reviewer who primarily focuses on, or exclusively focuses on, science fiction and fantasy and horror. He created Space Opera September in 2019 and has continued ever since. But 2021 is season 2 of Space Opera September. So in Space Opera September season 1, and I will leave links to both the season 1 announcement and the season 2 announcements down below. So in season 1, participants were tasked with a series of challenges. Participants could be either a member of the Federation or the Rebels. And there were certain reading requirements to go. I think it was reading like a book about or by author of color, and or the main protagonist being a character of color or LGBTQ+, and the author too. And then there were a number of other challenges. A novella, like read a novella, read a book that was published before you were born. I think there was a size, like a page count for another. And I participated in the first year and really enjoyed it. And I also participated in 2020, which was a repeat of season 1. And I'm going to be participating, obviously, in season 2. For season 2, the challenges for season 1 are still in place for new participants, as well as for continuing participants to sort of build up the neat stuff they get. There's like ships and stuff you can get for some of the reading challenges. But in season 2, there's a sort of a participatory element to it, in that one can participate in book battles or book lovings, where in book battles, a member of the Federation and a member of the Rebels can basically recommend books to each other, and depending on if the book is DNF'd or read, will award either a point or a half point to both participants. And then members of the same faction or members of the Federation Rebels who've already participated in the book battle can also buddy read a book as well. Although I'm not entirely sure if those, I don't remember if those have any points associated with it or not. And if you don't particularly want to participate in the buddy read and the recommendation section or challenges, you can also go with a solo track, which is what I will be doing. And in the solo track, you can read either a space opera duology or trilogy, which is, I'm going to be reading a duology, or at least for the moment it's a duology. There's a possibility it could be multiple book, like further books in the series, but I haven't really heard anything about the future of the books yet. So anyway, let's get on to my TBR. So for the solo track challenge, I'm going to be reading A Memory Called Empire by Arkady Martine, and its sequel, A Desolation Called Peace. A Memory Called Empire will be a reread for me. This will be my third reread. It is the story of Mahet Zamer, who is a young woman appointed to be ambassador to the Taix clan, which I know I am butchering the pronunciation of Taix clan, and also probably I will be changing how I pronounce Taix clan every time I talk about it. That her predecessor as ambassador has been murdered, and she's been sent to replace him and also to find out what's going on. Alongside her liaison officer, 3 Seagrass, Mahet investigates what happened and ends up getting thrust into Taix clan politics at the highest levels. All the while there is machinations going on back in her home stations, as well as a mysterious alien threat lurking in the background. I'm not entirely sure what I make of this novel. I've read it twice. There are parts of the book that I love, and particularly the beginning and certainly the climax. Oh, the climax is amazingly well done. But there are a lot of parts in the middle that I'm significantly less keen about. And I do want to have another go at A Memory Called Empire to see finally what I make of it. Sorry about that. And I have been looking forward to getting to A Desolation Called Peace. A Desolation Called Peace takes place a few months to a few years later, when Mahet and 3 Seagrass are recruited to try to open negotiations and communication with the mysterious alien presence, force, ship that has been lurking in the background of A Memory Called Empire. And I'm quite looking forward to getting to it. And particularly this cover is amazing. The next 2 books I will be reading for Space Opera September are going to be rereads, unfortunately. I had intended over the course of this month to bolster my science fiction collection, namely my space opera, the space opera books I have, and I didn't do it, unfortunately. Now, hopefully I will be able to add some more in the coming months and into next year for next year's Space Opera September. But the 2 books I will be rereading are, one's a classic and one is a favorite of mine. First up is Dune by Frank Herbert. This is perhaps the quintessential space opera, certainly one of the most famous space operas of all. It is a major work in science fiction, the canon. It is the story of Paul Atreides, who is the son and heir to Duke Leto Atreides of Caladan. His family has been forced to surrender their ancestral fief planet to take up the planetary fiefdom of Arrakis, which is the source of the spice melange, which is a drug that can affect physiological changes in humans, mainly revolving around increasing mental capacity, mental awareness, that sort of thing. Without the spice, space travel is nearly impossible, not largely because in this setting there are no artificial intelligences. they had been purged 10,000 years ago in the Butlerian Jihad. So, House Atreides takes over Arrakis, replacing their longtime enemies, the Harkonnens. The Harkonnens don't let this lie, and with the support of the Emperor, overthrow the Atreides and force Paul to flee, and his mother, the Lady Jessica, to flee into the desert, where they make alliance with the Fremen and launch a rebellion against the Harkonnens and the Empire. I have mixed feelings about Dune and the subsequent books in the series, which I will talk about as I read it. But there are points where I don't know exactly what I make of the Atreides, and particularly Paul. Because on the one hand, of course, he is superhuman, he is a hero, but at the same time, a lot of what he does in this book, and certainly in the sequel, Dune Messiah, it's not necessarily the hero you think of when you think of hero. He isn't a paragon of good. He is very much a larger-than-life figure who does some pretty evil stuff as well as good stuff. I mean, he's the protagonist, but he's not, I don't think, a very likable one. But anyway, but I will rant more about Dune as I read it, more than likely. And the next book I will be rereading is one that I love, and that is Radiance by Catherynne and Valente. This is a space opera that posits a completely, radically different solar system. And this solar system, or in the solar system depicted in Radiance, most of the planets and satellites are habitable. The moon is basically the primary location of the film industry. The Venus is colonized, Mars is colonized, I think Uranus or I think the gas giants are mostly colonized, Pluto is colonized, and the Radiance is about a filmmaker named Percival Onk, trying to come to terms with the death of his daughter, Severine Onk, who was a documentary filmmaker who died during a filming expedition. And Percival's method of coping with her death is to try to write a film script about it, to try to turn her story into a movie. And he does this through various iterations of the script that never quite comes together. But I love this book. I've read it a few times, and every time I love it even more, and I am so excited to have another reread in September. So, to parent, this is my Space Opera September TBR. I will probably not get to them until, at the very earliest, the first weekend of September, which is when I'm hoping I'll be able to start on them. And so I will begin reporting on them, obviously, that following Friday when I do my weekly reads. So anyway, BookTube, that was my Space Opera September TBR. I will see you in a few hours with weekly reads, where I will try to give something that resembles a review of The World Turned Upside Down by Yang Jixing. I love the book, but reviewing it might be a bit of a challenge. So until I see you in a few hours, thank you, BookTube. Have a great afternoon and stay safe.